Hello everyone, my name is Peyton and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm kind of going off the beaten path, however that phrase goes. Basically, I really botch up some sayings and whatnot. But I want to just talk about something a little bit different. Lately, I've been talking about sports. A few times I would talk about something that's original to New Orleans and everything like that. Like the one time I talked about Mardi Gras. But this time I actually want to talk about something different, something I guess a little bit more philosophical. And it's really just, again, it's just my opinions. I'm just basing it off from what I think in my head and what's in my heart, and just something I think about a good amount of times, and something that's prevalent really in our world is social media. Something that's been existing for a lot longer than people really think. When people think of social media right now, they think of Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and especially TikTok. But really, it kind of started when I was growing up as a child in the early 2000s. And I don't know if you really want to consider it social media, but there was like AIM and AOL, where it was like these more or less anonymous chats where you just chat with random people, or it would be bots and you would just kind of just talk about random stuff. A lot of times it was really trolling, and other times you would just actually have some conversations. I remember an old friend of mine, we would actually just talk with bots and we would just say some of the weirdest and most disgusting things because we knew it was a bot. But again, it just kind of goes back to, and something that I'll just kind of keep nailing at its head, the fact that you just kind of say whatever you want. You say the nastiest stuff, and there's just feels like there's no repercussions. And I'll get into this a little bit more, but it kind of started off with that, and then the first big social media site that came out was actually MySpace back in like 2004, 2005, something like that. And every time someone made a new account, the first friend that you ever had was some guy named Tom. I remember those days, not and then you would have your song that would appear on your MySpace page or whatever it was exactly. In case you're wondering, mine was, even though I never really visited it, what mine was Animal I Had Become by 3 Days Grace. Um, Still a song I listen to this day. And then there's Facebook that was created by Mark Zuckerberg, and then there's Twitter and Instagram, and then it just kind of went on and so forth. And then there's something like Vine, which was, in my opinion, kind of way ahead of its time, and that worked out for a while until it kind of had to shut down for whatever reason. And then Yik Yak was kind of a fad where it was basically anonymous Twitter. I really enjoyed that. And it was perfect when it came out for me personally because it was back when I was like a senior in high school to like my sophomore year in college, and people would just completely troll on that thing. And you could troll on pretty much any social media site. It's very easy to do it because again, you're behind a screen. You're not doing it to someone's face, so there's less at least physical repercussion to trolling, saying mean things and whatnot, and behind a screen than if you try and do it to someone's face, you know. And then now it's just kind of gotten insane, especially with Twitter, and then especially TikTok, which is something I kind of don't want to touch with a 10-foot pole. I've heard from many people that you go on TikTok and easily you would get lost in there for about 2 hours before you even realize it. And it's just something I don't really want to get involved with. Personally, for me, I only have Instagram and Snapchat. I used to have Twitter for the longest time, but it just became so much of a dumpster fire that I just kind of left Twitter. I never even deleted my account, but I just had not been active on it at all. From what my friends told me, my Twitter actually got hacked, which is funny enough. Kind of a funny kind of jab at me consistently, but I just don't care enough about it to really do anything about it. And so Twitter's kind of gone for me. It's something that I've been so much better without. And something I kind of want to go into is just kind of, I guess, the psychological or the mental aspect of social media. And one thing that is the case with social media in general is just being able to connect with people, no matter if it's your relatives or if it's people, just random people on the internet from all different parts of the country or in the world, and you just communicate with them, you just chat with them, you catch up with people, what they're up to, no matter if it's old friends that you went to school with, that you're now an adult and you're just catching up with old friends or relatives that live far away and all that type of stuff. And that's usually how I try and use my social media, especially Instagram, but even to an extent with Snapchat, because there's the whole story thing. When that was implemented, I didn't use Snapchat until right before actually they implemented the stories. Like I remember when I first got onto it, there was the whole thing where you just send pictures that only existed for like 24 hours or something like that, or you could only view it once or something like that, and that was it. And it was like it was something that was very anonymous and something that paved an easy paveway for sending very inappropriate pictures, to say the least. And something I never really got into, and then I just randomly got it from an old friend back when I was in college, and it was pretty fun, I have to say. Now, I didn't participate in the kind of inappropriate slash illegal activity in that regard, but it was pretty fun, even though I don't really use it that much nowadays. Um, I never even had a Facebook myself, but one thing that's just kind of, I guess, prevalent is just people being so glued to it and just being so addicted to it in the way that people want to go on there. They spread their opinions on there, especially when it comes to politics and everything like that. And it's the most prevalent in Twitter and even TikTok. TikTok, I don't know much about exactly because, again, I've never been on it. I never want to be on it, so I don't know much about that. But I've just seen over the years how like each social media site is just become like more and more politicized and more opinionated and whatnot, and it's become less and less of, I guess, what I thought was the more um, I guess like the bigger reason that all these sites were created, which was to catch up with people and whatnot, you know. And then it's just kind of created a pathway of people trolling, people saying the most obnoxious, egregious things, and that they don't have any repercussion. Which now there is more and more repercussion in terms of people getting some sort of punishments on social media, no matter if it's getting banned or even as far as getting doxxed, which is something that's extremely inappropriate, extremely dangerous, by the way. And it's just really sad what it's kind of come down to with social media being like just being a platform, well, supposed to be being a platform of catching up with people and then also sharing your opinions, but then it just comes out that people just start like saying really nasty things off of disagreements on social media or difference of opinions, and then it goes into threats of physical violence, and then actually showing videos of physical violence or even porn. I know it's two separate things, but still, you're just showing and broadcasting evil. You know, we've seen it kind of spread throughout society. It just goes from social media to real life, and I just don't think social media is real life. I think it really should be, and it is, two separate things. And one of the best decisions I've ever made in my life was leaving Twitter, because you see some of the nastiest things people say, and then you actually encounter these people in person, and they're actually a lot nicer, a lot more positive, and just again, just a lot more nicer in person. It's not nearly as toxic as it is on social media, especially Twitter. I just feel like it's kind of a shame what social media has come down to. And I feel like social media, it just breeds envy, because especially on like Facebook or Instagram, you see the successes of other people, and especially if you knew that person, and you're like, wait, like what happened to him to where he or she gets this and I'm still like this, you know? And you get that sense of jealousy and envy, and you feel like you have to compare yourself to that person, and you feel so envious that you're either down on yourself or you hope negative things towards someone else. It's something that I personally have felt, and it's a really toxic thing, which is why I've tried my best to limit myself on my social medias. Very like only maybe a few times a day. That's To me, that's really the biggest advice I can really give, because there's no way I can really tell people to just abandon social media but I do think there are some positives to it. Again, the main thing is just being able to share your opinions on social media sites, and also just posting pictures, catching up with people, all that type of stuff, you know? And then a lot of people using it as their primary source of news, which is another thing that I'm kind of against. I just feel like you need to kind of broaden your horizons in terms of doing your research on finding out the news, looking at local news sites, looking at the national news sites, going pretty much anywhere you can to find the same news and seeing where everything kind of matches up, where things differ, and all that type of stuff. I think that's something that is also better. Instead of just relying on social media, you actually kind of use that to an extent, but then you also kind of branch out and look elsewhere to find your news and kind of decipher it. And then at the same time, yeah, you do catch up with people, but then you try and limit yourself to where instead of giving saying congratulations to that person, instead of looking at that person in a negative light, if you do it more and more, I just feel, and again, this is all just in my opinion, I just feel like you start getting jealous in your heart. You start getting envious in your heart, and it just breeds a lot of negativity. And I feel like that festers on to enough people in society that just changes the culture for the worse. And so, while I would like to say to abandon social media, I just don't think it's possible. So I just think as kind of a moral, more of a moral thing. I'm not trying to provide any law or anything like that or any policy. I'm not trying to advocate for policy change necessarily. I'm just trying to help people out to become better versions of themselves, just the best person that they can be. And I would easily say, and I know a lot of people who might watch this aren't religious, especially not Catholic, but just being able to limit yourself on social media, or if you can, just straight up eliminate social media from yourself, it would do wonders for you to become a better version of yourself and closer to the image and likeness of God, that as how we were created as humans, going all the way back to Adam and Eve. I know I'm going a little bit more off the beaten path, especially in religious terms, the last few seconds, and then also just this topic in general. I just feel like I wanted to talk about this because, again, especially this generation coming up, I just feel like we're kind of going more and more into social media and we're getting addicted to it, which is really not good. I just don't think it's really good for society, and I always just wanted to kind of put my 2 cents into it and just see, just if you just take a little time, just take a little period of break from social media and just experience the positive impact that it has in your life. And that's just a challenge I would like to bring out to my viewers. So I really hope you enjoyed this video. I know I was kind of all over the place in this, but I just wanted to just talk about something that was kind of been in my head and in my heart for a bit, and just kind of share my opinion to you guys. So again, I hope you like this video. Subscribe if you're new, and comment in the comment section down below about your opinions, and I will see you later. Peace.